Hi, I'm Wes Allen with DM Tales, and I am here at Gehenna Gaming's booth to talk to Varun Singh, who is the author of a, I would say, ambitious piece of software online called Hedron. So do you want to explain what this is, or would you like to explain what it isn't, because it might be easier? So.
It might be easier to do what it isn't, but I'm going to try my best at what it is. So the mission is very simple, very high level, like our name, Hedron for polyhedron. We want to create a platform that no matter what dice you roll, how you're rolling it, our system supports it in a virtual tabletop environment.
Okay.
My belief is that the authors who are building systems have enough on their plate. They shouldn't also have to be programmers. And Foundry, for example, asks you to program. We don't do that. So we take all the tools of Foundry, we take all the world building of World Anvil, we put it in one place, and then we build on top of that and also remove all the coding. So the idea is that anyone can come in and create whatever they're imagining and just put it out in the world as much as they'd like.
I mean, that's like amazing. So this handles VTT, it handles world building, it's all an online tool. It's really, like, when I saw the website, I was like, whoa, because it's everything. We're going to talk about why you built Hedron in a minute. So currently, what features are available for people who want to test out Hedron and see what's going on?
Oh man, where do I start? We've got a wiki. I'll start in a somewhat organized way. The lore side of things, we've got Wikipedia style entry. So you can just write articles on whatever you like. You can make them as structured or unstructured as you want. We don't force you to fill out any fields. It's all up to you. Your structure is your own to make, fully customizable. If you want to connect pages together, anywhere on Hedron, you can use an @ sign like your social media and just tag the other page. You can be like, this country is in @USA, and it'll auto tag it to the USA page.
Wow.
Building on top of that, you can even embed things from your mechanics into your lore. You could be like, the Archmage is capable of casting this spell, and then you embed the spell stat block into the book, and it'll dynamically update if you modify the rules of the spell.
How do you do that embedding process? Is it as simple as an add?
Backslash. Same thing.
You went full like old school IRC coding with it.
A little bit, yeah. I'm a little old school, even though I don't look it.
There you go.
And then on the flip side, so building off that, if you want more structured, more complex stuff, something we do that's very unique, and at least I feel it is calendar systems. You can build any fantasy calendar you want, and you can actually convert between them. This is especially cool for sci-fi systems. So like, let's say you're building a sci-fi system where the setting's the solar system, right?
Right.
You could have a calendar for Venus, a calendar for Mars, a calendar for Earth, and you could be like, hey, it's 2:46 in Venus. What time is it in Mars?
It'll auto-calculate?
And it'll auto-calculate between the different planets and the time zones, factoring in whatever you need. And it'll do it no matter what kind of calendar structure you have. You could have years that last seconds. You could have interstellar style, like time dilation. It's all up to you, and it'll handle it all seamlessly.
I'm laughing because I'm like, you've got fantasy calendar, you've got World Anvil, you've got Foundry wrapped into this thing.
Yeah.
Is it besides accessing the virtual tabletop when you have an active session? Can you leave a world open for your players to come in and look at the lore and look at their sheets and things while it's off?
Yeah. So everything on Hedron, from the mechanics and how you edit mechanics, create lore or create items and things and share them with your players in the virtual tabletop, everything has built-in sharing controls. And unlike some other competitors, we don't lock that behind a paywall. We very much believe that Hedron should be fully available to everyone. If I'm developing a feature, I'm not building it for our top 1%, I'm building it for everyone.
Okay.
And so sharing management on Hedron is fully customizable. You can share with no one, so it's just you. No one else can access it.
Okay.
You can share it with your players in your campaign party, and it'll update as you add and remove players.
Okay.
You can also share it with individual people, or you can share it with the world. And then, of course, for our content creators, you can also put it on our marketplace and share it that way.
Okay, cool. And how many worlds can a person have on an account for Hedron?
No limit. So the way we have any sort of limit is we have a storage-based mechanism. So we basically charge the same way as Google Drive. Here's the difference, though. I don't believe that gigabytes and megabytes are intuitive. As a creator, how do I know how much lore I've created?
Yes.
Instead, we count the number of pages. So when you create a page, that's 1 unit.
Okay.
Everyone can create 400 units for free.
Okay.
So what that means is players will never need a membership.
Right.
If you're a GM running a game by the book, you'll never need the membership because someone else already wrote the page. You're just accessing
their page. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only if you yourself are building massive amounts of stuff that you start needing some memberships.
So if I'm building my world, even if I'm using somebody else's mechanics, I'm creating all these pages for cities and NPCs and everything like that.
Yeah.
So it does add up a little bit fast, but it's still a pretty good mix for a starter pack.
I will say, let's contextualize a little bit more. So
Okay.
even if you need a membership, it's $2 a month.
That's not
And
much.
that quadruples your membership, like your storage space. So let's put it in some actual raw numbers.
Okay.
All of 5e's rule system, all of it, like all the SRD, every single spell, every single item, all that is our lowest membership tier. Like that $2 a month, $20 a year. If you are free league and you have like multiple systems and multiple games, you probably would fall in our second bucket. You may be in our third bucket.
Okay.
Third bucket is where we consider publishers. Like, so if you're a publishing team trying to publish massive amounts of stuff like Gena Gaming, you might, Gena Gaming would actually be in the second tier. In the third tier, that's our publisher tier, it's $10 a month. And then our highest tier, highest possible tier anyone could have, infinite storage, make whatever you want, site's yours, $20 a month. It's even cheaper if you do it by year.
How are you doing this?
Well, the reality is I think that tech isn't about making something for just a couple people, right?
Okay,
it's about sharing things. We live in an age where, and tabletop gaming especially is guilty of this, we are big on sharing and collaborating and working together to create something new. Like there are systems out there that are all community driven, like open source systems, right?
Yep.
We want to carry that torch with us just the same.
Gotcha.
And so that's our membership side of. I think the other thing is the way we keep the lights on is probably what you're also kind of alluding to.
I'm a little wondering about that.
So if people sell things on our marketplace, we take 10%.
Okay.
We take 10%. Our credit card processor takes 5%. You get the remaining 85%, which I think is fair.
Pretty good deal.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty fair,
Better
especially
than the
compared
App Store.
Yeah,
So.
exactly. So that's how we're keeping the lights on.
Okay.
Of course, we'll see how things plan out. We're right now completely, everything's free. There's no way to pay even if you want to, unless you're buying something. And then, of course, we also sell merch of various kinds, and I think that's a good way to supplement anything else.
Very good.
So
very good.
Yeah.
All right. So how many publishers have you worked with so far?
We've worked with a couple handful, I would say.
Okay.
So we have some that are like in the works, some have already gotten out. So let's talk about the ones that have already gotten out. We've got the 5e SRD already. And, we're not working with Wizards directly on this, but we got their SRD.
Source, you got the SRD, right?
Yeah, we got the Pathfinder 2e SRD.
Okay.
And then we are working on the Pathfinder 1e SRD, and we're also working on the 3.5 SRD.
Okay.
We have on the roadmap Call of Cthulhu, Fate, Power by the Apocalypse, and the Year Zero engine.
So are you designing that, or are you working with the publisher and the publisher's kind of paying to put their stuff on your system?
So we reach out. So these are all the ones that we are working on independently. We reach out to them as we start the process to be like, hey, do you want to be involved? Do you want to be a more part of this? So definitely, if you know a publisher, send them our way.
I knew know of one. Dave, talked to him. Because he's programmed his Foundry system. He's like, Foundry. I love Foundry. I hate writing for it.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
But let's take it another step. So then there's a couple publishers that we work with directly. So like Gena Gaming, great example. Eldritch Automata is on Hedron. We work with the creators of Eldritch Automata, like Nick and Ian and so forth. You probably hear their names. We work with them directly on all of the Eldritch Automata related stuff. We also have the Black Ballad, which is a 5e expansion that is also on Hedron and on our marketplace. You can buy it literally right now if you wanted to.
Okay.
And
so like publishers will put stuff on the marketplace and they're selling it, they're getting 85% of the profit.
Yes.
And then they get access to all the pages.
Yeah, and so right now a lot of the publishers we work with them one-on-one. Because you basically say like, hey, I'm a publisher, I'm trying to publish this thing. And we're like, great, let's work together.
Okay.
We'll have some of our staff helping you. You'll be working on it. We'll make it all nice and spick and span, teach you how to use everything so that you can make it yours.
Yeah, it's a very, like I said, it's a very ambitious concept.
Yes.
What are some of the features, because a VTT by itself is this insane beast. So what are some of the features in the VTT that make this such an, I would say, an attractive position to use as your in-session game?
I would say, so there's a couple of things that are unique about our VTT.
Okay.
So one of the things, I'm going to say the bad stuff first. Bad stuff is we are not doing any sort of video integration. Here's my logic. There's stuff like Discord, there's stuff like Meet, and those guys have entire companies dedicated to just that one thing.
Right.
We will not be better than them at doing their thing.
And every VTT that does video integration says, just use Discord.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm going to say, right out of the box, we're not going to give you video. We would actually encourage you to use Discord. Okay. But now let's flip to the other side, the good stuff. We're going to integrate with Discord. We are going to have a Discord bot. We're also going to have mobile app. We're also going to have offline support. So we're going to have all these things so you can do all this stuff offline or on a phone or on a tablet, whatever you like. The only exception being that offline, of course, you can't interact with your players because you're offline.
Yes.
But we are right now, this is like first time I've said this to anyone, new plan, we are looking at investigating a technical way so that you can host like a local game, even if you're offline. So your GM could just be like, hey, I want to run this game, load it offline.
Putting in second screen support, that sort
kind
of
of
thing.
like the good old days of LAN. It's like a LAN party basically set up.
Oh, okay.
We're going to have the app basically automatically set up like a little LAN for your party to join. So now even if you're in like a actual literal dungeon and you have no reception, you can still play a game.
So you're still using the online tools.
Yes.
Do you have second screen support that you want to just put out a map on the table and use that?
Yeah. So we also have it. So that leads to my second point about our BTT. We have a tab system in our BTT. So you can have different tabs directly in the BTT. One could be your world map. One could be your session map. And then another thing we do that's very interesting is character sheets. Something I believe is that almost half of the TTRPG players I know are like, this sheet's great, this character sheet's great, but I wish it was slightly different. So the way Hedron approaches it is we make character sheet building easy.
We're working at that.
Sorry. It makes it really easy. In other words, what it does is you design the visual layout of the sheet and tell it, hey, I want to put this number here, this number here, this number here, whatever. And then when you load a character, it just dynamically puts those numbers into your sheet where you put it.
There they go. Okay.
So the idea is it's sort of like a plug and play character sheet.
So you can tweak your sheet the way that you want it to make it work for you.
It's as easy as drawing, basically. If you can draw it, you can make it. It's actually easier than drawing because, it's rectangles and squares, and we have tools for all those things.
That's amazing.
So the vision I have for it is that some systems out there, especially like my own system, is very gritty. It needs you want your martial characters to have a completely different sheet than your casting characters.
Okay.
So the idea is you could have two different sheets tailored for each experience, and people could swap between them dynamically.
Gotcha.
Another way people might use it is social encounters have different things you have to look at than when you're in combat.
Okay.
So you can have a sheet for social encounters and a different sheet for
your combat encounters.
And it'll just swap between them like live. Like we can swap between 50 different sheets in like 0.1 second. You will never experience lag in between them.
I'm giddy because it's insane.
Yes.
I mean, I've talked to a couple of insane people this week, and I mean that as a compliment. It's wild.
No, I'm insane. I'm aware of it.
How long have you been working on it?
Okay, I've been working on it 6 years.
Really?
That's the official, that's when I started it.
Okay.
When you look at, when I started the code repo, it was 6 years ago. Around June, so we'll probably have a big celebration for that. But anyway,
awesome.
We went public this year, though. So the first time the public could touch it was this year.
Okay.
January this year, we launched in our public open beta.
Okay.
And then in August of this year, we had our crowdfunding.
Gotcha.
So before that point, it was just as I call them, the alpha victims, the people who got to watch the site evolve from this very garbage-looking thing to what it is today.
Alpha victims.
Yeah, they are. If you check our Discord, they are alpha victims, and you can ask them about their experience. They remember when it was something. I'll say that much. It was definitely something.
Everything about that because it's so true, and nobody ever wants to say that.
Oh yeah, no. Half my players are like, yeah, half the time it couldn't load when it was starting up. The other half of the time it would load and it would show me the wrong things.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, so if people want to go and check this out, which I would say. I have my preferred world building. I do have another question for you about it, but this is especially if you've not done anything, this is ambitious and it's worth checking out. Where can people find it?
ProjectHedron.com.
Okay.
Hedron, like polyhedrons, like dice.
I keep calling it Hedron, but it's Hedron. Okay, good.
Take your pick, and then Project Hedron. That's it.
Okay.
And if you put a dash in there, it's fine. If you don't put a dash, it's also fine. If you put
all the URLs going.
Any URL adjacent to it, you'll probably get in the right place. If you Google search it, will also be the top result. Find it.
Awesome. And this is one thing, and when we set up the interview, I wanted to check because it's something that's very important to me as a person who creates content, who creates worlds. One of the things that's always tripped me up is, how can I get my stuff out of this, or is it stuck in Hedron forever? And this is on your roadmap.
Not even on our roadmap. It's already there.
Oh, awesome.
So we are all about sharing, collaboration, as I said that.
Right.
The way we reinforce this is just say, okay, let's say you're not happy with Hedron. Let's say you want to go somewhere else. We are not going to make it hard for you. It's your data after all. Right. We have every single page is equipped with download tools, and our download tools are always expanding. Right now, today, You can export your content in several different formats. So you have Markdown, you can do JSON files, you can do CSVs. So like if you want a spreadsheet of your content, that's fine too.
I'm doing a mental dance at Markdown, but that's okay.
Yeah, and then we also are working on PDF support. So this is what we're actively working on. So we can make it, so this is a sort of two-front thing, right? So the PDF support, the idea is you should be able to dynamically generate spell cards that you can print out if you wanted to. So you could have things exported into a PDF that you can publish. You can have things exported into PDFs that you print out for your players. You can have it exported whatever way you want, and we're going to make it easy regardless.
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. Because so many people overlook that part of the feature, and you forget. This is, I understand the desire of a business to want to keep people in, but getting locked in is always such a terrible thing.
I think that we should be building a good project that makes people want to stay. And if we're not, then
it's a concept, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Like I think that if we were to just lock you in, you're stuck here, that doesn't tell us anything, right? That just tells us that you're stuck here. We'd rather earn our place in your repertoire of tools.
All right, now, you had said this, make sure you're still in frame. So you had said at the start, you started Project Hedron because you were writing a
system. Yes.
What is your system like?
So my system is called Call to Power. We're running it here at PAX for the first time. Public setting, of course. I've been running it private for years. It is a system about power, fate, and death. In short, I don't believe D&D is capable of high fantasy. I don't believe most systems are capable of high fantasy. I would say that at best, level 20 characters are mid-fantasy.
You think a level 20 character in D&D is mid-fantasy?
Yes.
I'm living in the basement.
Yes. Call to Power takes the definition of power as you know it and cranks it up to 11. At level 20, characters in Call to Power are able to melt the skin off their enemies. They could rewrite reality. They can evaporate an ocean if they really wanted to.
And yet it's gritty, you said.
And let me tell you more, though. Level 20 is not the max. Level 20 is not the highest level you achieve in Call to Power. Call to Power is a level 40 system. And we also have a mechanic called Ascensions, where the line between becoming immortal and being a god is blurred.
You're going like all the way back to Beckman.
Maybe.
Like you literally could become an immortal in Beckman in this card.
I see. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is. The big theme of Call to Power is what is a god but a mortal desperate enough?
Okay.
Like, they're willing to do anything for that little clause of power. And as they get to it, they realize that they've become a god along the way. Trying to resurrect a loved one isn't just a journey about resurrecting that person. It's a journey about overcoming death itself, becoming something beyond death, becoming a god in some way. Really big system. We talk about a lot of big themes.
Okay.
So an interesting mechanic. I'm just going to mention one mechanic.
Go ahead.
There is something called the Deck of Fate. So you as the GM are taking on the role of fate and death.
Okay.
You are impartial and fair to both the enemies that your players encounter and also the players.
Gotcha.
Something that you do is you draw at the beginning of every session 3 cards from a Deck of Fate.
Okay.
They're tarot-style cards, but they're a standard 52-card deck.
Okay.
So you can use a regular playing card deck. We will, when we release, have a official tarot deck.
Okay.
When you draw the cards, they have labels like Strife, Madness, Havoc. They can also have positive things like Genesis or Prosperity or Order.
Okay.
When you draw them, they are improvisational tools for you as a GM, but they are meant to influence what happens outside of the player's control.
Nice.
So, for example, in our quick start adventure that we're running here, we're calling it Seek and Color. It's all about finding some mysteries out about this relic called the Chained Lord.
Okay.
If you draw 3 Doom cards, the GM draws 3 Doom cards, the Chained Lord is completely absent from the story. You cannot find the relic. The story has to continue without the relic. It is all about creating this improvisational extra layer of the GM has something beyond them that they get to play with on their own. So a little bit of dice rolling of sorts, but it's card drawing.
Okay, that's really interesting. And you've been working on that longer than Project Hedron.
Yes. So to tie it all back. So Call to Power started out in a Pathfinder background. So that's where the grittiness comes from. We've got big numbers. We have players rolling 160 D8. We have hit points in the thousands.
Wait,
we have
how many D8s?
160 D8s. The way we really often roll it is we'll roll 48 and multiply by 40, or 8d8 multiplied by 20, things like that.
Okay.
Also, digital tools help. The whole point of Call to Power is you run in a digital tool like Hedron. So the point is
set up, especially because you can't do that. It would slow to a dead crawl. But on digital, it's just whatever.
Yes.
Very good.
And to be fair, most of my players actually prefer rolling a physical die and multiplying. You just keep a calculator beside you, 8 times whatever.
I love your players.
Yes, they're something special. But anyway, I was just saying, Hedron was built because as I was building the system, as I was building the world, I just couldn't find a solution that didn't have me opening 6 different websites at any given time. So I wanted a single place to put all my lore and all of my world and my mechanics in one place. And so that's where Hedron came to be.
Absolutely amazing. Well, thank you so much. As the game comes out more and more and more, I'm a little weirded out that you think that level 20 for Dungeons and Dragons is barely high fantasy. Because I'm playing basic fantasy RPG. So I'm like at sub-level 18 at this point compared to where you are.
Yes.
But I'd be interested to see where you're going with it and how this all works out. Yeah. Even if it might make my head explode.
Yeah, no, definitely take a look. I mean, just skim through the quick start. Look through some of the abilities our quick start characters have. You look at them, you'll be like, oh, wow, they can do this? That's nuts.
Awesome.
Casual.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Project Hedron looks really, really cool. I'm looking forward to checking it out a little bit more. And hopefully I'll see you next PAX.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.